In the sun-scorched lands of the ancient Middle East, a new power was rising, a power that would challenge the might of Rome itself. There were the Parthians, nomadic horse lords who forged an empire stretching from the Euphrates to the Indus. But this wasn't just another clash of empires. This was a collision of worlds, a military rivalry that would redefine the art of war for centuries. While Rome perfected the disciplined legion, a heavy infantry force that conquered everything in its path, the Parthians mastered a completely different style of fighting. Their strength wasn't in ironclad formations, but in the saddle. Imagine this: thousands upon thousands of horsemen, so skilled they seemed born on horseback, thundering across the desert plains. They were the original masters of mobile warfare. Their army had two deadly components. First, the cataphracts. These were the ancient world's tanks' heavily armored knights, both rider and horse clad in scale or mail armor, wielding long heavy lances called A charge from these ironclad behemoths was terrifying, capable of shattering even the most resolute infantry line. They were the hammer of the Parthian army, but before the hammer fell, came the storm. The second, and perhaps more famous, component was their light horse archers. These warriors were the epitome of speed and skill. Lightly armored, they could ride circles around slower enemies, peppering them with a relentless hail of arrows from their powerful composite bows. They were ghosts on the battlefield, impossible to pin down, dealing death from a distance. And this brings us to their most iconic tactic, a move so famous it has entered our language: the Parthian shot. Picture this: a Roman legion, shields locked, marching in perfect order across the desert. Suddenly, Parthian horse archers appear, swarm around them, and unleash a torrent of arrows. The Romans, trained for close-quarters combat, are frustrated. They can't catch them. So, the legion commander orders a charge. As the Romans advance, the Parthians do something completely unexpected. They turn and pretend to flee. The Romans, sensing victory, break formation and give chase. And that's when the trap springs. While galloping away at full speed, the Parthian archers would twist their bodies around in the saddle and fire a final, devastating volley of arrows back at their pursuers. It was a feat of incredible horsemanship and archery skill. The pursuing Romans, now disorganized and exposed, would be thrown into chaos, right before the Parthian cataphracts turned and countercharged into their broken ranks. It was a deadly, brilliant combination of feigned retreat and overwhelming force. This devastating strategy was put on full display in 53 BC at the Battle of Cannae, one of Rome's most humiliating defeats. The vastly overconfident Roman general, Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of the richest men in Rome, led 7 legions deep into Parthian territory, expecting an easy victory. He was wrong. At Cannae, Crassus and his 40,000 legionaries found themselves surrounded on an open plain by about 10,000 Parthians under the command of a brilliant general named Serena. 4 hours, the Roman legions, formed into a massive defensive square, could do nothing but endure a relentless storm of arrows. The Parthian horse archers would ride up, fire, and retreat to be resupplied with more arrows from a camel train they had brought along. An ingenious logistical solution. Whenever the Romans tried to attack, they were met with the feigned retreat and the deadly Parthian shot, or they were crushed by the cataphracts. The legionaries' heavy shields, designed to stop swords and spears, were pierced by the powerful Parthian arrows. By the end of the day, Roman discipline had shattered. Over 20,000 Roman soldiers were killed, and another 10,000 were captured. Crassus himself was killed during a truce negotiation gone wrong. The golden eagles, the sacred standards of his legions, were captured, a symbol of ultimate disgrace for Rome. Cannae sent shockwaves through the Roman world. It proved that the legions were not invincible. They had met an enemy they didn't understand and couldn't fight on its own terms. For the next 300 years, the border between Rome and Parthia would be a bloody frontier. Emperors like Trajan would launch massive invasions, and even capture the Parthian capital, Ctesiphon, but they could never truly conquer the Parthians. The vast, arid landscape and the Parthians' hit-and-run tactics made it impossible for the Romans to hold on to their gains. The Parthians would eventually be overthrown, not by Rome, but by an internal rebellion from one of their own vassal states, who would go on to found the Sassanid Persian Empire. But their legacy lived on. The Sassanids, adopted and refined Parthian military tactics, continuing the long struggle against Rome and its successor, the Byzantine Empire. The Parthian way of warfare, heavy cavalry charge combined with mobile horse, archery influenced armies for centuries, from the knights of medieval Europe to the Mongol hordes of Genghis Khan. They were the arrows from the shadows, a ghostly cavalry that haunted Rome's eastern frontier and proved that there was more than one way to build an empire and more than one way to win a war. Their story is a powerful reminder that adaptation and strategy can overcome even the most disciplined brute force. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into military history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories from the ancient world. Let me know in the comments what other historical rivalries you'd like to see covered. See you next time.